Hi folks, and welcome back to Broadside Gaming with me, Zug. So, last week we had the Zealot, and this week we're going to be taking a look at the Veteran. So I was digging through the forums and Game Lantern and all that, looking for possibly the newest, hottest way to play the Veteran, and honestly I hated them all. So, we're sticking with the old classics. So let's jump in and take a look at what we're using today. Obviously, that's begun, because, it's awesome. And what are we using with the plasma gun? Well, first up, it's the Assault Chainsword. To be exact, the Acadia Mark 13G. And how are we wielding this particular chainsword? Well, the modifiers are as such: damage, finesse, shredder, and penetration, lol, at 80 and mobility at 60. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, why is the mobility so low? You're a veteran. I don't care. I don't use mobility, don't like it. Anyway, next up is perks. We're going for flak and unarmored because the entire point of the chainsword on this build is going to be to clear out trash. So when I say trash, I mean things like this, and this, and sometimes this. We're not, however, going to be wasting our time on anything above this. So heavy weapons, bigger mobs, that sort of thing. I'm not saying this is a 100% hard and fast rule. Obviously, there will be times when you need to use it. Be sensible, read the battlefield. But mostly it is for this, okay? Because with the plasma gun, we can reliably kill everything else at range. But there will be times when you're swarmed, and the chainsword is a very, very good answer to the being surrounded question. As such, we're going to be using blessings like Savage Sweep, which, hitting at least 3 enemies with an attack, increases your cleave by 200% for 2 seconds. This just makes us better at clearing trash. And lastly, Rampage, hitting at least 3 enemies with an attack, increases your damage by 36% for 3 seconds. So, as I said, it's a very good trash clearing weapon. A head down strike is your first hit, and then everything else is nice wide sweeps. As you see, it reliably kills everything. Obviously, I've said this before, but every time I record a video in this, in the Psychonarium arena, whatever the hell you want to call it, it's always at damnation difficulty, so all the breakpoints are generally how they need to be. As you can see, even with these, reliably kills them. I mean, and if you really have to, you can charge up and take on maulers and things. But I would say that's a last resort, because obviously plasma gun. So we have our answer to Horde. What's the answer to everything else? Well, as the veteran, obviously the answer is plasma gun. And here it is. So for the modifiers, we are dumping out ammo. I know some people don't like dumping out ammo. They like dumping out, I don't know, stopping power or damage. I don't like doing that as a personal preference. I prefer everything else to be up while ammo is down. This just requires you to be slightly more careful with your ammo, whereas everything else actually impacts your use of the gun way more. So damage, charge rate, stopping power, and thermal resistance all 80. Ammo is at 60. And if you don't like these modifiers, do it however the hell you want. I'm not your mum. I'm not going to put a little note in your lunchbox. If you don't like it, change it. As for the perks, we're going with flak and unyielding. Flak, because it's the most prevalent armor type in the game, and unyielding, that is to help us deal with monstrosity bosses in general, bulwarks and reapers. Doesn't do too much towards crushers, but still, plasma gun doesn't need much for them. And also, our inherent perks are going to help us deal with that anyway. Blessings wise, we're going with Gets Hot. Critical hit chance scales by your current heat level up to 50%. Now, this is where a lot of people say, oh, well, that's right out thermal resistance. No, you do. Also increases critical range attack damage by 10%, rising heat up to 20% strength, scaling with heat level. So, this is going to make the gun work a lot better the hotter and hotter it gets. As I said, with crushers, sometimes you don't even need to charge the gun. You can just tap it. But if you want a surefire kill, and you can actually aim, unlike me, headshots will get rid of them. And of course, don't forget mouse button 4, or whatever the hell you have it bound to, is to vent heat from your gun. A lot of newer players get confused with this, and you don't need to reload to vent your heat. You have an extra button for doing that, which is your extra action button. So make sure you do that, because you don't want to be reloading every single time. Now, on the topic of reloading, there are several ways you can do this. There's the weapon swap or the sprint, and this is to cancel the reloading animation, which is the biggest problem with the plasma gun, which is the reload is ridiculous. So what we're going to do is we're going to reload, and I'm going to cancel it by tapping shift to sprint. Use whatever it is on your controller. I don't know what it is, but this is also a way to do it. I think it's much easier to do the weapon swap, as I've been told, on controller than it is on PC. But so what you do, hit reload. See the turn, sprint. See the turn, sprint. See the turn, sprint. Every time you see either the top or bottom cylinder turn, that is your chance to cancel the animation and reload. Let's just do that again. So you hit reload. He turns it, and the top bit turns. There you go. Fully reloaded, not having to waste any time with that animation. And the weapon swap kind of works the same. But is way more hassle on PC. It's far easier to tap to sprint to do this. But your mileage may vary. I have been told it's easier to do that on console than it is on PC. So try both, see what happens. Now, that is the weapons. Let's take a look at the curios. So as you can see, we have twinned curios here, which are both plus 17% toughness with extra toughness, toughness regeneration speed, and damage resistance gunners. This is because the veteran basically thrives on toughness, which is why both of these are here. And toughness is going to be massively helpful for chip damage, as it's basically going to negate most of it. And before anyone jumps in and says it, toughness regeneration speed, yes, it only affects passive regen when you're in coherency. Yes, that's very, very true. But when you have 3 of them with toughness generation speed on and you're staying coherency like you're supposed to, it makes the speed absolutely ridiculous. If you are lone wolfing this as a veteran, you're playing it wrong. You are not a lone wolf. You are a veteran. You are a buff bot. So, yes, toughness generation speed does not help when you're on your own, but in coherency, it does. So, as I said, we're going for 5% toughness, 30% toughness regeneration speed, and damage resistance gunners. It's because damage resistance gunners is very, very, very important. Usually, I would run 3 of these, because with the 3 curios, adding in 20% damage resistance gunners on each doesn't equal up to 60, because there are diminishing returns. It actually equals up to 43%-ish on all 3. But now we've dropped it down, it does at, so 40%, about 32%, I think. Off the top of my head, I haven't worked it out. The reason we're doing this is because we are taking 1 stamina regeneration curio, because as a veteran, your ability to not get your head kicked in is quite important. And yes, I know people can say, oh, you didn't have movement speed on your weapons. It doesn't matter that much. Just having a little bit of stamina regen to increase, it's not about having the stamina regen faster. It's about the stamina to start regenerating faster. That's what we care about, not the actual speed that it starts regenerating. It's the initial tick that we care about, okay? So that's why we're doing that. And on all the others, it was just 5% toughness speed, toughness generation, and gunner resist, and stamina generation. We are taking 1 health curio, though, and that is mostly personal preference. I have found that 2 toughness and 1 health seems to be the sweet spot for me. For you, it might not be. I would highly recommend trying this, and if it's not up to your, standards or how you like to play, swap the health one out for another toughness. I just find it helps cushion in those extremely hectic situations. Because if you are completely overwhelmed as a team or on your own, Yes, you may lose your toughness and you may not have a way to regenerate it at that second. An extra health curio is just going to help cushion it just that little bit more to allow you to react to it. But that's just me. So if that's not what you like, take another toughness curio. So the talents, let's jump straight in, shall we? So we're going to start off over here on the left. Long shot, deal up to 20% ranged based damage bonus. Bonus is reduced the nearer you are to the target, so being further away, the more damage you do. Exhilarating takedown, replenish 15% toughness and gain 10% toughness damage reduction for 8 seconds. On ranged weak spot kill, stacking 3 times. This is actually incredibly powerful. Over here into the middle, close order drill, up to 33% toughness damage reduction. The more allies in coherency stay in coherency. Charismatic aura increases your aura radius by 50%. Confirmed kill replenishes 10% toughness on elite or special enemy kill and a further 20% toughness over 10 seconds. Stamina boost into toughness boost, and then we're grabbing the crack grenade. I prefer the crack grenade over the shredder frag grenade. I understand the shredder frag grenade is very, very good. Not only does it stun, stagger, and apply bleed, which is very, very powerful. Bleed is incredibly powerful at the moment because it doesn't get hit with as many diminishing returns as anything else. I just like the consistency and reliability of the crack grenade. I like knowing that I have something that can delete a pack of Ogryn when it's necessary. This is more helpful in odd survivability moments. This is more helpful if you guarantee need to kill something and make sure it's dead. So again, up to you completely. I just prefer the crack grenade. Then we're going down into health boost, and then we're taking covering fire. When you kill an enemy with a ranged attack, allies within 5 meters of the target replenish 15% toughness and receive 10% tool base damage for 3 seconds. And then we're jumping into fire team, which gives us a plus 5% damage for unit allies in coherency. And then we're taking toughness damage reduction into demolition stockpile. This is going to make it so you don't have to fight the rest of your team for grenades. You replenish one every 60 seconds. Again, the shredder grenade or the crack grenade are both very, very good. And now you basically have unlimited amounts over time. So every 60 seconds, you'll get one back. And we're also picking up field improvisations. This is just a nice helpful boost to your entire team. Ammo crates also restore grenades, med packs heal 100% faster, and cleanse corruption and replenish 1% toughness per second. It does not require you to be the one putting the pack down. It is enough that you are in the team. It does require you to be alive for this to work. If you're down or waiting to be rescued, I don't think this works. But as long as you are alive, anyone in your team that puts one of these down, this will buff it. And then into Voice of Command. Replenish your toughness and stagger all enemies within 9 meters. The base cooldown is 30 seconds. And then we're picking up Duty and Honor. Voice of Command now also provides you and your allies in coherency with a plus 50 toughness for 15 seconds. This can exceed your maximum toughness. And the fun little things you can do with this is not only helping your team, but when there are large packs of Ogryns or just big targets coming at you, you can wait till they all crowd around running at you. If you time it correctly, you stagger them, chuck a grenade at one of them, and all of them should explode at once. Obviously, they do need to be standing on top of each other, but it's just a little trick you can use during the game. So, basically, Voice of Command is incredibly powerful. You are buffing your team and basically healing them. It's kind of on par with Chorus or Spiritual Fortitude. I know Chorus it's slightly better because of some of the tertiary stuff that it can do, but Voice of Command is very quick and more or less always there when you need it. And then we're going down into Suppression Boost. And then into a range damage boost over here. Then we're going to be picking up Precision Strikes for plus 30% weak spot damage. Just a massive boost. Into Fully Loaded for plus 25% ammo, and then down into Superiority Complex for plus 15% base damage against elite enemies. So this is just going to help you murdering elites. Obviously, we're not taking Shock Trooper because it's not a las weapon. And then into the final part, which is the middle tree. For the Emperor, your combat ability gives you and your allies in coherency 10% melee base damage and 10% range base damage for 5 seconds. Into Tactical Awareness, combat ability cooldown reduced by 6 seconds on specialist enemy kill. Which are these folks? As you can see, stacking up nicely, getting our voice command, a nice big cooldown. And these things generally die quite easily. Apart from the mutants, because their faces are so tiny, it could take a charge shot or 2 taps. And then into Iron Will, plus 50% reduced toughness damage if above 75% toughness. So the trick with this is to try and keep yourself topped up at all times, not only by using voice of command, but also taking advantage of being in coherency and keeping that toughness regeneration speed running. And then into another toughness boost, and then into Bring It Down, plus 20% damage to Ogryns and monstrosities. This does count towards crushes as well. I mean, you don't have to charge them, you can just snap fire into them, and it generally does quite a lot of damage. And then lastly, into our keystone ability, Focus Target. Gain Focus Target every 2 seconds, stacking 5 times. Tagging an enemy applies. The Focus Target stacks to them, causing them to take 4% additional damage for each stack, and resets your Focus Target stacks down to 1. It's weirdly worded, but as you can see down the bottom, the purple icon, I have 8. If I was to, say, tag that Ogryn, but if only... We'll tag him with 3. There you go, he's now only got 3 stacks on him. If I tag him again, doesn't replace the stacks that are on him, it adds them up until it hits 8. So it doesn't just apply the number, it does, add it onto them. If that makes sense. And then we've got the tertiary abilities down here. Some people hate them, some people love them. You can take these out if you don't like them. Target down, if an enemy you have tagged dies. Replenish 5% toughness and 5% stamina for each stack of focus target applied to you and your allies in coherency. Then we've got Focus Fire. Focus Fire max stacks increased to 8. And of course, Redirect Fire. If an enemy you have tagged dies, grants 1.5% damage for each stack of focus target applied to you and your allies in coherency for 10 seconds. Now, these can be taken out. They're not super great. They don't make or break the build. If you really want to, you could say get rid of Target Down and Redirect Fire for something like Rending Strikes and maybe Suppression Immunity. I don't think Rending does very much to help the Plasma Gun. But if you really don't like these things, there are other stuff you can work into. So take the points out of there. You could, for example, I don't know, go over here to give yourself some more melee damage. Over to here to give yourself some crit and extra grenades. Or over here for some more melee damage and generally just not great abilities, to be honest. So this last part is completely up to you. I would generally keep Focused Fire to give yourself a little bit more damage, but other than that, if you don't like them, just change them. But there you go. It's a very stable plasma gun build for you. It's one that I run quite a lot. It's the one I always go back to. I have tried many plasma builds, but it's just the kind of one I like, and I hope you like it too. If you do, please do like and subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It really does help us out. And I shall catch you all for the next one. So until then, take it easy. I'll see you later.